Hello again, Loxley here, and we're talking about the coronavirus once again. I do wonder when we can stop talking about this and put it behind us. I know I could stop talking about it right now, but it's just too in my face to ignore. So I'm coming to you from Beijing, and once again I spent a whole day inside, as for the last, 20 something days, just been in the house the whole time pretty much, except for when I went to the supermarket and when I've been sort of downstairs and around the corner to collect packages because the delivery guys can't come in anymore. In one of the previous videos I said that the incubation period had been extended to 24 days, but that in fact has now been proven to not be accurate. There was a misunderstanding in the reporting and someone had got a second infection after 10 days and then started showing symptoms after the 14 days, which made it 24 days. They thought that that was the new incubation period, but actually it's just up to 14 days. So putting it out there, it's only 14 days. Don't worry about 24 days. It's not 24 days, 14 days. So let's go straight on to the numbers. The numbers. Today, there are 60,410 confirmed cases of coronavirus with 1,370 deaths. And that's up from, I forgot what yesterday was, like 44,000 or something like that. That is a big jump, and apparently it's the biggest jump throughout the entire period. The reason being given for both the jump in infections and deaths is they are using a different way of reporting the virus, and now they're using CT scans as well as the coronavirus test kits. So CT scans can show pneumonia in the lung, and that is one of the major symptoms of the coronavirus, so they are including those results too. So there's a massive jump today. I'm not sure if there'll be the same jump tomorrow, because I'm not sure if these people are new cases just from today or if they're including people who have previously checked via CT scans who previously weren't included. So maybe tomorrow there'll be fewer additional cases compared to today, if that makes sense, but I guess we'll see. This is a developing story, so you know, it's changing every single day. If you follow the number of deaths and the number of infected, the charts look almost identical, and that's kind of strange because surely the deaths would be delayed, right? You don't get infected and die the same day. It's sort of like, I would imagine you'd be infected and then further along here there'd be like one death, so it's down here. Oh, can you see? One death, and then the infections go up, and then further along, these deaths are coming now because they're infected, and then like 2-3 weeks later, I don't know how long it takes before people end up in that critical situation, but it's a bit weird how the deaths and the infections are rising and falling at exactly the same rate. So I'm not quite understanding why or how that is. Every time they report, it's almost like there's a percentage. It's almost like they get the infections and then just work out a percentage and then just report the deaths based on that. Because that's the only explanation I can get for the same day. Like there's a massive increase in infections and there's a massive increase in deaths. And then the next day, there are fewer infections and there are fewer deaths. It doesn't happen same day, so it's a bit weird, isn't it? The two prisoners, the one that came back from Thailand and I'm guessing his cellmate, the two prisoners that were tested, negative. Came back negative. So the prison system in the UK is still free of the coronavirus as far as we know. So that is great news. That could have been pretty tragic. There's a new case of coronavirus in London, and that is kind of scary, especially when you add to the fact that that person who was infected took an Uber to the hospital. So yeah, there's a few complaints about, you know, the fact that she didn't follow the guidelines. But to be honest, the guidelines, when there's an emergency, you don't really think about the guidelines. You don't really, I'm coughing and, maybe she's coughing up blood, or maybe she's like having a serious pain or like a really bad fever and stuff like that. It's a little hard at that time when you're in the moment. It's a little hard to think about the guidelines. Imagine any time you've been sick, people always say, yeah, drink water, yeah, you're throwing up. It's the last thing you want to do is to drink water. You know you should drink water, but it makes you feel disgusting when you think about drinking water at that time when you're throwing up. So imagine if you're having what she's probably had. I don't know if her symptoms are really severe or not, but I can imagine, if you're feeling bad enough to go to the hospital, at that time, your mind's probably not clear to be thinking about, okay, what was the first thing that they said? And the information isn't actually that clear, is it? Yeah, sure, you could find it if you know exactly where to go, but it's not widely being shared in the news or anything like that. So I don't blame her, but I do feel now for the Uber driver and the potential passengers after the Uber driver and the hospital staff who had to check her at first. and anything she may have touched on the way. And I went, oh my God, there's so many things to think about, because if this virus is that contagious, she could have spread it to a lot of people. So that brings the UK total to 9 infections. I should check how many infections there are in Beijing. Let me just check that right now. Okay, so Beijing has 366 confirmed cases and 3 deaths. Hillary went back to work on Monday, and then after that she's been working from home because they changed the regulations again, so it's always changing. It's like first you can work, then you can't work. Still, right now it's only essential work that is being permitted. So supermarkets, hospitals, chemists, pretty much the essential work, but there's not a return to work like the offices and stuff like that. They had originally said that it was okay, and now they've delayed it again by a further week. Educational institutions like Hillary's, they may extend further until sometime in March, maybe mid-March. So she's going to be at home for a little while. So throughout the day, she's been in and out of the spare bedroom because it is spare right now. The other guy, he's back home in the north of China. We asked him today when he plans to come home, and he says once all this has died off, he'll come back. So that means he's probably going to wait until the last moment possible to come back. So I'm guessing probably the end of March. So the whole apartment to ourselves. It's been good. It's been great. And to be honest, if he's been in the north of China and then he's going to have to take a train or a plane back to Beijing and whatever, to be honest, it's probably best that he didn't come back, because who knows what he could have caught along the way and brought back home here and then, you know, passed on to Oscar. So it's probably for the best. This morning, Hillary showed me a picture, which I'll put on the screen, and that is from her uncle. I blurred out the details because, you know, ID number, phone number, and full name. I blurred out the information. So that is a pass to come and go from where he lives. So in China, most people live in apartments. I probably said that before. And they live in apartment communities. It's a whole area with apartment buildings, and it's all fenced off, gated off. Some of them have many entrances, but right now I can assure you that most of them will only have 1 or 2 entrances and exits, because they are controlling the people who come in and out. So anyway, that picture, it's from her uncle, and pretty much if he wants to go anywhere, supermarket or wherever, he needs to have a pass to say that he can come back. Anyone can leave, but not anyone can come back, because if you haven't got that, they're not going to let you in. They're not going to let people back in to the housing communities, and they are being very, very strict about that. They don't want anyone who wasn't already here to come here and potentially bring something back. You get it on the way out, and you don't get one at the door to come in. You have to bring that one back with you. So they're being really strict on that. And then about an hour after I saw that picture, we got a knock on the door, and we have to register our details. They're literally only doing it for the people who are here at this time, right now. So you register your details, and then you get put onto the database. And when you go out, you need to take your ID card. So for me, I'll take my passport, and then they're going to give me this. They're going to check their list, and then they're going to give me the slip. And that slip is to let me back in. And when I come back in, again, the slip, my ID card, my passport, does it match up? Yep, you can come in. It's getting real strict. They're really controlling the spread of this virus. And it's really unfortunate, because there's a lot of people who are sort of stuck in the middle. The regulations kept on changing. They were told, you know, everyone goes back to work on the 10th. On the 10th of February, go back to work 10th of February, no problem. So a lot of migrant workers started preparing and setting off on their journeys to go back to the cities to work. And then sort of midway through, they changed the regulations again and said, for the whole of February, no. So a lot of those workers who are doing these jobs that are deemed non-essential, like construction and stuff like that, a lot of these workers, they're sort of on the train or plane or one of the train journeys or whatever, and then suddenly they get an update the end of the month. But now they've left their home city and they can't turn back. For some of them, they may not be allowed back in, because some cities have been locked down. A lot of them are midway through, and then they can't go back home, because when they turn back, they're going to get to their gate, and then the people at the gate are going to say, you haven't got the entrance and exit pass, you can't come in. It's crazy. It really is crazy. It's getting so serious now. Again, I have to, you know, I don't like to talk about rumors, but I keep seeing these videos, and I'm seeing them on more than one place, and this forced quarantine thing is so serious. But to be honest, you know, the methods I don't fully agree with. They're like literally dragging people off. I saw someone, anyway, they're dragging people off in terrible ways. But at the same time, these people aren't wearing face masks, and they don't have their permissions to be roaming around on the streets. So in some of the infected areas. So I don't know, it's kind of irresponsible. and their own fault. And finally, just want to talk about some of the criticisms about China. And, you know, I keep on thinking about, you know, the hospital that they made. Sure, it's not the best hospital, it's not the greatest conditions, and it may be, you know, almost like like a prison. And maybe there might be too many people in a room and the beds are too close together and the infection might spread even more and whatever. But you need to think about it. Think about where you live, wherever you live, anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter where you live. And you imagine that one city, a single city, suddenly, in the space of 2 months, got 60,000 people infected with a contagious virus. What would your city be able to do for 60,000 people? 60,000 extra people. I'm not talking about how many people can fit in the hospitals as they are, because most hospitals around the world are sort of running at, you know, semi-capacity. They're not built to have extra space just wasting. They're built to be run at about 80% capacity at all times, pretty much. They're not ready for an influx of 60,000 people. So you imagine if that happened where you live, and just try and think, what could your city government do to contain the virus in one city? To help the people, what would they do? What could they do? So the more I think about it, the less I feel that we can criticize China for making these massive hospitals in such a short time. Even if they look like how they look, even if the conditions are how they are, like what else are they going to do? 60,000 people. And they just did it without any talk about funding or money or how it's going to be done, how it's going to be paid for. And they just did it. They're just like, oh, we need a hospital. Okay. We need 2. Okay. We need 3. Maybe they're building a 3rd. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, that's all. That's all for today. And now I'm going to go and maybe cut my hair. So yeah, see you tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow the numbers don't increase as much as they are now. And hopefully the numbers are only increasing in Wuhan and they're just like people who are already infected and now being tested. Oh my God. Let's just hope for the end of this virus. End of the spread. All right, see you. Bye-bye.